Hello and welcome to the Dev to MBA podcast. My name's Sean and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Boff, Mr. Boffman Man. How are we?
Shawnee, I'm so good. Last week we had a Sol Cerveza.
Yeah.
And this week we got a Cooper's Green Pale Ale.
Yeah, the homophobic beers, huh?
Yeah, the homophobic
Having
beers.
heavy conversations over a light drink.
Yeah.
Or was it the other way around? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, we studied it in university in my communications degree on how not to communicate. This was Cooper's during the plebiscite, and they did a 15-minute infomercial talk segment with a Liberal politician
And a Labor politician. Was there a mediator with one of each side or just a Lib?
I think it was just. I thought it was just a Lib.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it didn't go down well, as a lot of things in the plebiscite didn't go down well. I've actually started reading the book Bulldoze by Nikki Sava, which is about the end of Scott Morrison's prime ministership and the start of Anthony Albanese's. And to be honest, it's a bit much. Listeners who've been with us for the 4 years and counting that we've been doing this podcast will know that I'm a very left-leaning person. I'm buying the book about Scott Morrison because I know that it's going to say that he did a bad job, and because that's what I think, that he did a bad job. And it's too much for me. She's really hammering it home. And it's like, did that sentence need 4 adjectives about how bad of a job he's done? Like, Jesus Christ. And then when they kind of introduce Albanese, it's very praising. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, again, like, does it need to be?
Yeah, damn.
I don't know.
Fuck, she can't win with you.
Nah, but it's the sort of, and this is me bringing my own politics to it, but it's the sort of dichotomy that she's trying to strike between a real right and a real left. But in actuality, it's between, Albanese's, the modern Labour Party is much closer to the centre than it is to the proper left. So she's trying to say that they're unalike in character and disposition and politics, and, it's like, well, Labour is kind of broadly...
Yeah, centre-left and centre-right.
Yeah, broadly doing, not a lot that would, that progressive people are happy about. So... For her to be trying to create that dichotomy and then laying it on really thick, it just doesn't land with me. That being said, I'm going to finish the book.
I'm reading a bit of a heavy autobiography at the moment called The Hobbit. Follows one Bilbo Baggins.
It doesn't end well for him.
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what happens.
Do you not?
No.
Neither do I. I was just... saying that for...
Jeez. Honestly, I'm smashing the fuck out of it.
Have you got to the bit with the spiders in the forest?
Literally,
yet?
I finished that on the way home. I finished that on the way home.
In the cinema with the movie. I used to be very bad with spiders, and I was watching it at Rosebud Cinema in approximately 2014.
Sounds about right.
And didn't handle it well.
Yeah,
I rewatched the movies maybe 6 months ago.
Maybe around about the time Rings of Power was coming out.
Yeah, it actually.
What's with that?
Oh, I don't know. Jeez, Amazon. Rings of Power though, bloody hell. Did you watch that?
I don't like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, well, are you gonna watch it after you've read?
I'm liking the book, but I'm not. Lord of the Rings isn't on my reading list at the moment.
Have you watched Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, when I was 12.
Man, you got to watch it.
I've had this conversation with so many people.
Yeah, but you would actually enjoy it because it's epic.
Yeah.
Me and Josh Gilmore. Shout out to Josh Gilmore. The
sunny sunshine soast.
Yeah, up there in up there in Queensland, doing God's work up there. He took my Lord of the Rings virginity in the summer before year 12 because I was like, I had watched The Hobbits and knew that they were prequels, and so I wanted to watch all of The Hobbits and then watch Lord of the Rings. And so as soon as The Last Hobbit came out, I was like, all right, well, what are we going to do? And we parked up at his house, and we used to just have these absolute beasts of sugar. Both of us extremely lean gentlemen, and we would just consume 10 times the daily recommended intake of sugar. We're talking Coke, we're talking chips, we're talking pretzels, donuts, lollies, strawberry and creams, like Allen's strawberry and creams, that was it. And we watched Lord of the Rings, and we watched them there, and I was hooked. And then in year 12, every, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, I would watch Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I probably watched it 20 times in year 12.
Look, you know, I'm not a big fantasy guy, but during the life of this pod, I watched Game of Thrones and was like, okay, maybe I'll like fantasy a little bit because I loved Game of Thrones. But I'm a bit like that with Return of the King, where I'll just rewatch all my favourite scenes just on YouTube over and over again.
What's your favourite scene?
Oh, we've talked about this. Mine's Jon Snow, King of the North, and yours is Robb Stark, King of the North.
Authentic.
Yeah, a bit. It's nice that they're on the camp. You know, everyone's just spur of the moment.
It's just a whole bunch of blokes who didn't know that they'd be pledging their allegiance to a newly created kingdom, but here they are.
You just never know what you can do when you wake up.
Yeah, seriously.
But book.
God, I would have been fucking such a good Northern Lord. These are the things that I think about every time I watch footy. I have to say to someone, "Geez, I would have loved to be a footy player." And then every time I watch a fantasy...
Well, didn't you play footy for a year?
Yeah, I played 3 games.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was great. I ran a lot, touched the ball occasionally, and from 2 shots on goal, I scored 0 goals, 1. So, not a career covered in glory.
No. But you were a ruckman, weren't you?
No, I was a wingman out there for Notre Dame. Notre Dame Med Student Society. Yeah, wing attack. Yeah, but you can't go in the... Can't go in D. You know,
go in the 50.
You know what happened to me on Tuesday night at netball? Egg on my face, let me tell you. Usually I play centre, and you can roam everywhere except the attacking and defensive D as a centre. But this game I was playing goal defence, and you can't go into the attacking third as a goal defence. And so I stole the ball off of an intercept, and I've passed it up into the middle third, and I've gone again, got it back, passed it up again, gone again, and I'm just giving these 2-1-2s, and all of a sudden found myself at the very edge of the D and passed it in to the goal attack who was right near the rim. It was like lightning quick counter attack, and then the ref was like, "What are you doing? You can't go there." And I was like, looked at my bib and it said GD, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, reset.
So Anthony Davis found himself in a similar situation today. Game 5.
Give me nothing and pivot away from my story with this segue.
I thought it was a great segue. That's funny.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors won Game 5 against the Los Angeles Lakers.
How do you feel?
So, I haven't been too confident, but the people I speak to...
What do you mean you haven't been too confident? Warriors in 5.
No, since we went down 3-1, I've sort of... I think a good barometer of how I'm feeling is how I describe it to Llewellyn, my housemate of the program. Yeah. Because I feel like it's my duty as his housemate, and he doesn't watch basketball whatsoever. I feel like it's my duty to give him the most objective take possible. So you should listen to me talking to him. It's like
it's different.
Yeah, I'm out there Chris Paul's just a great point guard. At the end of the day, you put him on there.
Believe? Sorry to interrupt you. Can you believe that stuff about nonce?
I don't reckon it's true because it wasn't on Wikipedia.
I reckon it's true,
but that's not where it started.
That's what they said. That nonce. The slang word for pedophile started in the British prison system as not on normal courtyard exercise or something.
But does that mean that he's a nonce in our sense of it? Because what if you're off nonsense?
No, but that would mean
that
would mean you can't go into the courtyard because you know what happens to nonces in prison. There's a code. What happens to them is
not on courtyard. But
they don't let him out into the courtyard with the other inmates because of what might happen if they were exposed to the other inmates. Which is what makes me think that it's true, because they would have had why is so-and-so, why is Jerry always loitering over there behind a screen door and not coming out and doing exercise. Oh, he's not. He's not on normal courtyard exercise.
I innocently read your message as something different because I was like, oh, he's not on like courtyard. He's not on the normal courtyard exercise. I was like, oh, he must have snuck out after dinner when you're not allowed to go for a run. He went for a little run.
Nah. Do you think that changes it? Do you believe it?
Yeah, now? I believe it now. I believe it now.
Marco, for what it's worth, was also skeptical.
But I think after he listens to this...
I'm not planting a flag either way, but if it is true, it's going to change my whole perspective.
Well, the Wikipedia definition of the slang term just said, like, SA didn't mention anything to do with the age. It said usually underage. No, so maybe that supports your case more.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Because if it's come from the prison system... but anyway, so
you're out there telling Llewellyn that Chris Paul is a great point guard.
I'm giving him objective takes.
So you could tell me once in a while. No, I actually don't even think he is.
Right now, you won 2 games without him. Campaign was doing great. Your backup point guard's Devin Booker.
God, he's good.
He's so fucking good. But so I'm giving Llewellyn like real objective takes, and like. I'll talk to you guys and I'm like, look, the Warriors might not win in 5. We're down 3-1 and stuff. But then I'm like, hey, Lou, it's not looking good because, like, when Anthony Davis decides to win games, like I said on the Deep to NBA podcast...
where can we find that?
where when he decides to play well and win games, we've got no answer for him.
Yeah.
And I said to him, like, it's not looking great. Every other person in my life, I said, just trust it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my boss is a Golden State Warriors and a Carlton fan.
Oh.
So he comes in, he's like, that's it, Sean, you know, the dynasty's over. He was saying that after game 1 and stuff. And I always have to be like, that's the Carlton fan speaking. Trust your Golden State Warriors fan. It's all going to be fine. And I said that all through the Kings series. And I said that after the first couple of games. I kept on being like, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine. But today, I was like... If they roll over, like the Jordan Poole playing music in the locker room after game 4 and not like answering any questions, like just turn around and just go, yeah, like we're the Warriors, we'll fight back, like we know what to do. And he just said to all the questions, I don't know what the thing is, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Just being non-committal for a dude who's signed for the next 4 years, 130. It really didn't look good. But then I watched fucking today's game and I'm just like, Gary Payton and Kevon Looney were sick. Like Gary Payton vomited on the court. No, but he did in game 4. Like they were sick. They were unwell, right? That's why they missed games.
He had the flu or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. Because did you see the highlight of Draymond like swing? Draymond passes it to the bench. That's because Gary Payton didn't fill the lane because he was playing defense. He vomits in his mouth.
Yeah, I saw him vomit, and then I saw him
run off, spew it out, and come back.
Yeah.
So they're unwell, and I watched today's game. Everyone's healthy. Like the bugs have passed through the system of the two good defensive players, and like I'm like maybe we can do this. And if Anthony Davis misses a fucking game with concussion, that's a freebie almost, right?
The reporting that has come out since the incident in the game today has been that he has passed the initial tests and is cleared of a concussion or any other head injury that would keep him out. So it looks like AD will play game 6.
But even so, like I just think like we kicked the fuck out of him today, right?
Yeah.
But then like LeBron has been known to rest games. Like LeBron went into game 1, played as hard as he could, got the win, left, and then game 2 he's like, it's right, we're happy to go home 1-1.
And you think there's a bit of that today?
100%.
I also think that there is a bit to it that LeBron and AD will just say, all right, we're fucking turning up. We've got a home closeout game. We're not losing this game. And you know, LeBron doesn't look like his full self, but he still has like a level of control over the game that I think we'll see him really, really exert. I think we'll see him dip into the reserves in Game 6 and really like push the throttle. You know, particularly knowing that if Phoenix and Denver goes Game 7, well then you've got like a little bit of rest because LeBron, you know, word on the street, carrying an injury, alleged.
Yeah. What's the injury?
I don't know, but every single basketball podcast is saying LeBron's clearly hurt.
Really?
Yeah, clearly hurt.
Fuck.
They've been saying it.
I haven't been listening to it.
Maybe you've been listening to the bad ones.
Nah, I just listen to the same ones.
I have faith in LeBron and Davis to get on the same page and like really throttle it in a way that it feels like maybe they didn't today. I didn't watch today's game because I was at work.
You're in the bunker with no internet.
Yeah.
But Draymond was so intense. Like Draymond had like 10 points in the first quarter or something like that. He was just like, as soon as the handoff didn't work, he's just sprinted to the rim.
Well, that's the thing with him though. That's always there, and because everyone just expects him to commit to the handoff. That's there, and that's such a great form of secondary offense because once he kind of does a half pivot and takes 2 dribbles and gets to the rim, there's still no guarantee that he's going to flip it up because he's actually not a particularly good finisher around the rim, like off drives. When he gets there, he's liable to just miss it. But because he's such a heady player, even when he spins around, if there's anyone that kind of comes off their man to try and bring help, the ball's just going out.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's scoring today, you know, I mean that just plays plays right into his hands for the next game.
Yeah. Look, it's game 6. I said this in the group chat after game 4. I said, we're probably going to win 5, but game 6 is going to be like the hardest game that Golden State's played these playoffs, maybe this whole entire season. And like, when we're at home, Moses Moody will like hesitate a little bit and go, "Nah, we'll shoot it." And he's been making like 50% of his threes. I don't know if they're going to be there when it's away, and maybe Lonnie Walker has another like he did in the game IV. Like all the role players just play better at home. Like we know how that works, and it's going to be so hard. But fuck, it would be awesome if we win.
Yeah,
how cool would that be?
I mean, like seriously, if there's going to be a team that can do it, it is the Warriors. There's not a more seasoned team in the NBA. You know, probably since the championship Heat and Spurs.
Yeah.
The Warriors are the only team currently that has been through the gauntlet, and that has pretty much like every single player has experienced failure and success at that level, and the 3 most important players have experienced that over the last 7 to 8 years. That really, really counts for something. But then at the same time, you really just can't kind of overstate that there is no player in the history of the game that has had more seasoning than LeBron.
Yeah, and he knows that he has to close this one out because going back into Golden State for Game 7. But
he also if that happens, he also could just do it.
Yeah,
He and the Lakers could do it again in Golden State.
But that's what's so cool about this series. That's what's so cool about this series because we both know that both LeBron and the Warriors can do it. We've both seen him do it. And also going into Game 6, Klay Thompson hasn't had a good series whatsoever. In fact, it's been bad. But Game 6 Klay, he didn't summon it really last year. He summoned it in Game 6 against Memphis, but if Game 6 Klay is going to fucking come out, if he's going to have another 11-3 night, we fucking need it on Saturday.
Isn't it just so fun that he is actually able to do that? That there's just there's this historical playoff oeuvre of Klay just turning up in huge ways in Game 6s. I'm just pulling up his numbers,
Klay,
for the postseason, which I believe are not particularly good. You can probably shed more light on this whilst my internet browser loads.
No, they haven't been good.
What's he been? He's been averaging probably the low
teens. He was good against Sacramento, but they were sort of giving it to him. And apart from Game 1, where the Lakers just gave us heaps of threes and we just hit them. Klay, he wants to shoot into form. It's very obvious that he's okay, I need to keep taking this because eventually they're going to fall. And as soon as he's not taking his threes, it's okay, well, you're no longer a great defender and you obviously can't do much inside the paint. And yeah, it's just sort of he just keeps taking because he knows he has to keep taking his shots, and sometimes he's taking shots outside of the rhythm of the game, and that's for the last 8 to 9 to 10 years, that's just been something that we're okay with him doing. But down the end of Game 4, we were kind of in control. Steph Curry was doing a fine job at setting up the offense, and there was 2 threes down in the last 2 minutes of that game where Klay was just if I'm going to start hitting shots, like, I'm going to start hitting shots. So he just took 2 off balance, like, just wacky fadeaways that just weren't ever going to make it. Apart from maybe it's like, oh wow, Clay made that, and he didn't, and we lost that game.
I've pulled the numbers, and he's averaging bang on 20, but he's shooting just a tick above 40% from the field. And to be honest, he's kind of getting good looks from 3 though throughout this series. The he and Steph have been able to get good looks off of Draymond DHOs and like Draymond and Looney screens coming around the, good looks for them at least. But he kind of, we talked about Davis quite a lot last week offensively, and his habit of falling in love with shots that he shouldn't be taking.
Yeah.
Shots that when he's making them are like the cherry on top rather than like the bread and butter. And Clay is the exact same since he's come back from his injury. Like he really just forces it sometimes. And they're not shots where you want him to force it, where it's like you're a top 5 shooter of all time. So a 3 that someone else shouldn't be taking, you take it. It's those shots that you just described where it's like it's a couple dribbles inside and it's
17 seconds on the shot
clear
clock.
that he doesn't have he doesn't back himself to be able to A, get to the rim, and then B, finish at the rim. Which is not great when it manifests with the shots that he's taking, like the wacky off-balance 19-footers. It's like, brother, get into the mid-post. You're 6'8", turn your back down a little bit, take a fadeaway then if you want. Like, there are so many other scorers who operate in the mid-range with a similar frame that can actually generate like efficient offense. But for Clay, like his whole move is like if he's not shooting a 3, it's like a 1 or a 2 dribble pull up.
Yeah, but it's also like he's not being guarded by big wings. Like it's Austin Reeves and Dennis Schroeder. Like he's able to shoot over him. But
he's able to shoot over him. But you also, if you don't think you can get to the rim against Austin Reeves, turn your back because you are 4 inches taller.
Yeah.
And you're 10 years older than him. So put your shoulder into him and like...
Austin Reeves for the past 2 games has had a couple of like, he'll like turn around, fake. And Clay's been like, he's got his hands up and he walks in towards him and he swats it. I think there's been 3 of these plays in the last 2 games where like he's swatted the ball and he jumps on the jump shot, but Austin Reeves just gets to the free throw line. And like they're talking back and forth, and it's like it's very much like Clay sticking up the 4 fingers. It's like that's so cool to do in the regular season. It's actually not, but like that's so cool if you're doing it during the regular season to Dylan Brooks and you're talking shit to Austin Reeves, but you can't lose this series then.
Yeah, but it's also great when it happens once.
Yeah,
it's like the iconic moment when Clay shut down, like an upstart and was like, I've been there, I've done that. But it's like, well, you can't just like break that out every single time.
It's breaking in case of emergency, not every time.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to the Phoenix series. Tell us how you're feeling, Mr. Phoenix fan.
Well, the caution in me wants to say that we're going to lose Game 6 at home. But I just can't confidently say that because our offense has been like historically incredible in the 2 games we played at home. Partially because KD was shooting 50% from the field, which he has struggled to hit regularly in this postseason, and mainly because Devin Booker was shooting 81% from the field. So I think we're in with a real shot at sending this to 7 because KD's not going to shoot 40% again. Devin Booker has had every single game in this postseason before Game 5 against the Nuggets. He has been putting up efficient, effective offense, and he didn't in Game 5. He only shot 8 of 19. But
this is actually the first time I've ever seen a home crowd, like an away crowd, sort of go, after he missed some contested pull up, and everyone's like, I thought he was making those ones.
I have faith in he and Durant to get us kind of like up to a point in Game 6 where we can win, to keep us in it to a point where it's about execution. So I'm optimistic about that, but I just don't really. There's just not really a solve for Jokic, and obviously that's been the case. But we were here 2 weeks ago and even last week kind of saying like, well, Ayton is historically a very good matchup for Jokic, and he's just gotten cooked. He's just been so bad.
Yeah.
And all of the things that we were kind of worried about with him, and all of the things that the most vexing part about Ayton's like drop off this season, and particularly in the playoffs, is that 2 seasons ago when we went to the finals, his first season with Chris Paul, he was doing everything that he needed to. He played really good D that year. He was screening hard. He was rolling hard. He was
dunking the ball.
He was finishing strong that season. It was like, oh my god, who am I watching? And he's just reverted back to type. Like he'll get the offensive rebound and then like immediately like over the shoulder right hook, or there's like a 6'3" dude in the paint and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna lay this in. That stuff is infuriating. But it's just been so bad because I'll slow down and take a step back. That stuff is infuriating, but what has been really damaging this series is what he's doing on the other end of the court, because he is just so positionally, he's like Bambi on ice out there. He's like, oh, where am I? I'm all over the shop. I'm skirting around the paint. I'm kind of covering like all of this area, but not in a Giannis kind of way where it's like I'm the ball hawk, like don't come here. It's like, oh, where am I supposed to be? And you know, there was the play in Game 5 where Jokic kind of catches it in the nail and just flips it up a little like little soft lob to MPJ, who catches it under the rim, and he's there because he wasn't being defended by Ayton. Ayton had just come up to Jokic, and MPJ had just cut into the 8 feet of space that he left behind. And it's like your only job is to be defending that space, grabbing the rebound, screening hard, and he's not doing any of it. So I don't think that we can win this series. I think we can definitely send it to a Game 7, but I don't think we can get out of it alive.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and it's so cool to see Jokic. Like, he'll have his 17 assists or his 13 assists, and then there's that game where no one's making any shot, that Game 3 in Phoenix, and he's like, that's all right, I'll just score 52 points. Like, that's just what I'm going to do, because right now no one's making their shots. I'll beat my matchup, and then the following game, triple-double and whatever it was. But yeah, like I would completely agree with you, but just down the end of the third quarter, because the game got a little bit chippy, where there's a dead ball that they were reviewing, and then all the players on the court went to Monty Williams and were just like, oh, let's drop a quick play call while the stoppage and play. Bruce Brown went up and was like, you can't do that. Can you just like wait like the rest of us and stuff? And then Jokic, I mean, you might have seen it, Jokic went up, and KD's like, piss off, man, pushes him a little bit, and Jokic like embellishes the contact, like a tiny Slim Reaper push is going to like knock over Nikola Jokic. I think there was a tech on KD for that, but it was crazy. But then KD came out of that, let's say, timeout. He came out of that stoppage just like in fuck you mode, and then made a mid range, and then Booker was just like also mad, made a 3-pointer, and then KD's walking down against Christian Brown, and then just dribble. Christian Brown pre-jumped to like contest the shot, and KD just hit it as the buzzer went, and just like snarled a little bit and walked off. And it's also Jamal Murray getting a tech for a snarl. Like, has PC culture gone too far?
Seriously, the bloody left.
But that was a little bit like, oh fuck, they're actually going to come back and win this because they're super pissed off, and then the Nuggets just had too many options. But it is kind of wacky to see that KD and Booker can like make their shots no matter who's defending them. Like, obviously the Nuggets have great defenders and they're doing a great job against those two guys. Like, they might be custom built to guard, you know, a scoring 3 and a 4, 2 and 3. But yeah, it's just not. It just didn't work because Jokic is he's just overpowering him on the other end, and he started on the bench in that fourth quarter, I think, but then just came back in and I was like, okay, this is going to be done in 5 minutes because it is a 20-point game. I'd love to see a Game 7 though. Just if this just goes home, that's I'm so fine with that.
It would be great if that was the case, but like I feel like Game 7 would be a dud because the Suns have just shown nothing in Denver.
Yeah,
none of the role players have hit shots. And you know, whatever you get from KD and Booker, which has been heaps, it just hasn't been enough.
Yeah.
And KD also like has not. KD's kind of been underwhelming in this series. you really want him to like assert himself, and we haven't needed him necessarily in the wins to assert himself because Book has just been like the best player on the court. With all due respect to Jokic in that 53-point game, like Booker was just fucking insane.
Yeah.
KD still has kind of been a bit lackluster almost, which was weird to say. But it's kind of like, all right, we have two of the three best players on the court. When those guys are on, like Jokic is the best player in the series.
Yeah.
But, you know, just in broad strokes.
Yeah.
But the 2 and 3 is Booker and Durant in whatever order you want to put that.
Yeah.
And, like, that needs to tell. But like you say, the Nuggets are just so deep and versatile and do have defenders in Brown and KCP and Gordon that are kind of like...
Even Michael Porter Jr. is doing a good job. Like, he's obviously 6'10" or whatever, and it's like he's actually doing a good job against KD. Can
we talk for a moment about what happens if the Titans that are 3-2 up advance to the Western Conference Finals? Because I think the Nuggets versus the Lakers is such a fun potential matchup.
Yeah, well, we might also get Boston and Miami, which is just to be a repeat of the bubble.
A repeat of the bubble? A repeat of last year, bro.
A repeat of the bubble's Western Conference Finals. Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. The Miami and Boston met in the conference finals last year as well. Yeah. Which I had forgotten.
Damn.
I had forgotten about.
Yeah. We were watching that with Sam Reeves.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Shout out Sammy Splash.
Because Adebayo was just front rimming everything, and he just had shut himself.
That was the Butler pull-up 3.
Yeah,
that was the
fuck. They could have been there.
Yeah,
that's right. I was talking to Angus, and we were like, man, we might actually be in the NBA Finals against each other. But what were we going to say? What if it's Lakers versus Denver? What do you?
Well, isn't that such a fun team stylistically for both? A fun matchup stylistically for both teams, because both teams are like, you know, Denver obviously better, but like proficient in the half court, and then just love to run and get those transition buckets. But also the individual matchups. Like, I would love to see who Gordon defends. Does he go to AD or does he go to LeBron?
Yeah.
Like,
well, wait, is it an odd or an even game? Because that would probably decide what it is.
Like, I've heard that's such a fascinating matchup. Like, who Gordon is your best forward defender, who you choose to throw him on.
Yeah.
How you want to play those matchups. Where you stash Jokic.
Yeah.
You know, do the Lakers do what the Suns have done in their wins and just lean all into shooting and say, like, Jokic, you're going to have to come and defend, like, D'Lo at the 3. And he's going to shoot. And if he makes them, you're cooked. I don't know. So many interesting, like, cross matchup, like, kind of playoff scheme busters on either side.
Yeah,
I would
and
love to see how each coach approaches that series.
And it's looking like Darvin Ham's going to like be actually a good coach. I think Denver are a lock to win that series if it happens. And there was a stat that Stan Van Gundy said where it's like the Lakers like the 27th best / worst team at defending transition opportunities, and it's like Jokic is going to get a rebound and his eyes are looking up every single time.
I think Kevin Love's outlet passes in the first round. I'm good. Like, wait, do you see this?
I don't really think it's because like AD is so inconsistent, and against Golden State he's inconsistent, but he can just beat whoever he's going against right now. But that's not the case against Denver. They're so connected on defense. Like, they're obviously making up for Jokic wherever they can, and they've been doing this all season. They've been doing this for half a decade now, and just the rotations are so fucking crisp. It's beautiful to watch, and like, if they're able to do it and hold off Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, or at least the other guys anyway, then you're going to be able to do it against Austin Reeves and Dennis Schroeder, Jared Vanderbilt. Yeah, it's
D'Lo might be due for some actual positive play, because the last few games he's been stinking.
The last few years he's been stinking.
Nah, but not like this. Not like a 2 points on like 1 of 7 type stink.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking crazy that Dennis Schroeder's like the 3-and-D guard. Like, he's actually the best option on Steph Curry these playoffs.
Yeah,
and he's doing a good job. Like, he should be starting. But speaking of starting lineups, I would love to see Monty Williams take out Josh Okogie, because like, while Josh Okogie's a great regular season player, he's just not a good playoff player. And it's like, yeah, he can stop some guys, but like, he can stop Jamal Murray, he can't stop Aaron Gordon, which is actually a thing you need to do apparently, to just Who just asked Carl Anthony Towns, who just couldn't stop an Aaron Gordon post up.
Particularly in lineups where he's playing alongside Booker and a point guard, which means he has to play the 3. But he's 6'4".
Yeah. You've got Terence Ross there. He hit a couple of threes yesterday. Throw Terence Ross out there, KD at the 4. I think that's the solution.
I think that if we were gonna go to that kind of look, Lee is a better option than Ross.
Yeah, right.
At to slot in there, because Lee is more.
Did he play yesterday?
He's been in and out. He's been in and out. But so is Ross. I mean, Ross has had a few DNP CDs. Lee is more connected. Ross is a bit of a ball stopper, sixth man, gunner. Whereas Lee, having spent all of those years in Golden State, is a bit more like make the next play, and when my shot's there, I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in a series where the stars are doing so much, you want those other guys to step up, but not at the risk of Ross shooting when he should be passing back.
Yeah.
You don't want those possessions to be ending in Terence Ross shots unless they're really good Terence Ross shots. And Lee is the sort of player that kind of only takes really good shots.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Terence Ross sort of comes in, and it definitely feels like he hasn't played basketball for 10 minutes.
And both of those dudes are zeros on D and can get targeted and hunted, so you're kind of not really losing.
Yeah, and you don't want Jamal Murray to go off because he hasn't done much since game 1. And the second he does go off, it's okay, well, how are we going to stop Jokic?
He's been good though in spurts.
He's been good passing, and he's been good getting to his little shot. Ironically, doing the little Chris Paul thing where it's him and Jokic on the weak side, and he just knows to kill around. Jokic is so good at he'll just see what's going on, and if it requires a little touch pass, he'll do it.
Yeah.
On Monday night, I got a post up, and I was sitting there saying, "It's in the corner, it's in the corner." I got a post up, smacked it with my hand. Didn't go anywhere because I had smacked it, and it was very slow, and it just rolled to the guy in the corner, and then the defense caught up. But that's what Jokic would do.
Yeah, but he would
make it. He'd put it on the chest.
One of the opposition in my Tuesday night netball game, me and the GA on our team, Noah, were kind of tearing it up. I moved into centre in the second quarter onwards, and me and Noah were absolutely tearing up. And one of the opposition said they've got bloody Shaq and Kobe out here. And I was like, damn straight.
Should we talk about the All NBA teams?
Let's talk about the All NBA teams.
Could you read them out and slightly turn your laptop, please?
So we've got, starting with the All NBA first team, we've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid. Then in the second, we've got Steph Curry, Donnie Mitch, Jimmy Butler, Jokic. We'll talk about that one. Jaylen Brown. We'll also talk about that one. And then in the third team, we've got Dame Lillard, De'Aaron Fox, LeBron James, Julius Randle, and Domantas Sabonis. So where do you want to start with all of this?
Let's start with the Supermax implications.
Okay.
Obviously, Supermax is tied to if you win DPOY MVP or make an All-NBA selection, which you can understand that the easiest thing to do there is make the All-NBA third team. Ja Morant, a notable snub from these lists. Also Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So Ja Morant is now not eligible for the Supermax, so his contract that he signed last offseason will stay at 5 for 194 as opposed to 5 for 233, which isn't huge for the Memphis Grizzlies because they're still, after this offseason, still going to be capped out. But it is actually kind of huge now that we have the second tax apron, because we were talking about Memphis as a case study for where this is going to be a problem and how the CBA might be bad for basketball, which you can find on the deep2.com. Can't believe it's that simple. So sort of, not the worst thing in the world that Ja Morant went on Instagram Live with a gun pointing it at the screen while at a club in Denver, because now
other teams should start getting on this.
So yeah, that's one thing. You got Ja Morant there. And then the Jays. So we all knew that Jason Tatum was obviously going to be making one of these teams. He's just that sort of guy where he's going to be an All-NBA guy for maybe the next 10 years. So Jason Tatum's in there. He's eligible for, I think, a 5 for $330 million deal. Jamie, you pull that number up. It's 318.
That's insane.
What
number does it start with?
It's pretty fucked up.
That starts with
soon your salary is going to be higher than your shooting efficiency and you're in an all NBA team.
Yeah, I mean that has been at times our barometer for things that shouldn't things that shouldn't be. But Jason Tatum's going to find it hard to shoot over 63% from the field. Jokic is probably the only guy that's going to go super max that will be able to make it happen.
So Jason Tatum can sign that not this offseason but the following offseason, and Jaylen Brown, who's entering this offseason as a potential free agent if he declines his player option, which I think he would be rather stupid to.
You think he'd be stupid to
decline his player option,
to decline it,
and enter free agency and sign what is now a 5 for $295 million deal?
Yeah. He'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying
I said he'd be stupid to pick up the player
option.
option.
I thought you said he'd be stupid to decline
Which is not a phrase any basketball podcast has said, so I can understand why you're confused.
Yeah.
Anyway, $300 million for Jaylen Brown, who...
It's so much money.
Who might not be one of the 15 best players in the world, despite making the list that says you're the 15th best player in the world.
Well, I mean, according to the list, he's inside the 10 best players because he was All NBA second team.
Yeah.
So, he's been recognised as among the absolute pinnacle, and he's going to be paid like that. But you just can't escape the feeling with him when you watch him play that it's like his game is like less than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah. It's like his whole career he's been surrounded by good ball dominant players and good defenders behind him. But he's also said some weird shit to the media. Notable good friend of Kyrie Irving had a massive. Oh my
god! Yeah, I heard that this morning.
Had a massive profile piece with Logan Murdoch of The Ringer, just talking about how the future's in his hands and how he just wants to worry about himself and things will come if they come, and very very Kyrie Irving like things. Oh, Drew Holiday got a bunch of votes. That's cool.
Yeah, heaps of votes.
Oh, that's a good trivia. You should ask me how many votes these people got. But yeah, so it's very much he's sort of alluding to, hey, I could fucking leave if I'm not respected. Respected being, we all know, every single person. Dante and Sean are sitting here in Coburg just saying that we know that he can be offered $300 million. So if we know, Jaylen Brown fucking knows.
You fucking better believe Jaylen Brown knows.
And he might be happy to walk if he doesn't get offered, let's say, get his respect.
I mean, he also would have such a market.
As like he would be the best 3-and-D wing on every other team.
He would be the best 3-and-D wing who's become available as a free agent since Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And before that, since
he's like 27.
Yeah. I mean, you lock him in for 4 years and you get the 4 best years of his.
And you get him cheaper than Boston would have to pay.
And he put up 27 this year per game on almost 50% from the field. So and you don't luck into second team All NBA. He had a great season. Yeah. And the Celtics had a great season.
Yeah.
He on so many teams will just be so saucy.
But it just sort of sucks that this is his predicament though, where it's $300 million for Jaylen Brown. Because like you're right, he's fucking so saucy on every other team, but re-signing for this number on this team, like
well, it depends what happens. Because if the Celtics win the next 2 games and get to the conference finals, you feel a lot better about keeping the core together. If the Celtics lose Game 6 in Philadelphia to Philadelphia after a stinker in Game 5 in Boston
and Game 1,
then
and the last series 2 stinkers,
then how do you pay Jaylen Brown $60 million a year?
Also because Rob Williams hasn't looked good. Al Horford's averaging 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, both of those things are true. Brogdon is an older gentleman. Marcus Smart is on the wrong side of 30.
Is he really?
Which is a bit weird to think about.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Marcus Smart's 31.
I'm going to shake your hand and say I reckon he's 29.
Alright, let's shake on that. Marcus Smart. Age.
29.
He's 29.
But yeah, get this. Next year he's going to be 30.
Fucking hell. What numbers did it start with? Don't tell me. There's no one else on this team that's like going to step into that void. Yeah. So where's the team at if you if you let him walk? Because that's what you're talking about. Because you're probably not sign trading for anything of substantial value. If he's an unrestricted free agent and he's walking, you might get the Durant we'll give you
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, we'll give you a pick back.
Yeah. Well, I'm more thinking maybe they get like Steven Adams back. Because I'm telling you, if he goes to any of these teams like Memphis and says, I kind of want to sign with you, they're like, we will do whatever the fuck you want.
We will move heaven and earth.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden Jason Tatum's a free agent the following season, and it's like, hold on.
Tatum's not. I don't think Tatum's at risk of going anywhere. I don't think that's really. I mean, who knows what could happen. It does to an extent depend on the success of this team in the future. But Tatum's been with this team and made 3 conference finals appearances and made a finals appearance. And, who knows what's going to happen in between now and then. I don't think he's a real risk. But it's Brown who's the one who... There have been those rumours and they allegedly shopped him for Kevin Durant.
Well, he's been shopped multiple times.
And not for nothing, he is a friend of Kyrie Irving. And he comes from the same school of thought as Kyrie Irving in the... I'm the smartest person in the room, when you're actually not. You're actually just saying dumb shit.
Yeah. Remember that tweet that I sent you after Kyrie shared the anti-Semitic thing, and then Jaylen Brown came to his defense, and then someone said tomorrow Jaylen Brown's just going to tweet a photo of a Nazi and was like, I wasn't educated and I'm working to be a better man.
Yeah, you can't say nothing anymore according to these guys. That's a real predicament. I mean, I think by far the most obvious solution for both teams is that you offer Jaylen Brown the money to keep Jaylen Brown on your team, and Jaylen Brown says, $300 million? Okay. Even if he does want to leave, even if he wants to see what's out there, Boston is incentivized to bring him back just so that you don't lose the asset. And Brown can always pull the Brad Beal,
Yeah.
The Supermax is on the table. Yeah, I'll sign it. Yeah, I'm committed to the city. Just if it doesn't work out, I want to leave.
Yeah.
He can keep that in the locker, and that, to be honest, is probably better for both parties, because at least then, if he does decide he wants to go, Boston is in complete control of getting back for him.
So Phoenix snubs obviously Kevin Durant, who isn't in there for games played, and he requested a trade in the middle of the season. I can sort of see why voters would do that, but Devin Booker. And we talked about this in the group chat, where it's just like, man, you have these guys who, this is obviously a regular season award, but man, Devin Booker and guys like Jimmy Butler, who made the second team, but these guys just play better and better and better in the playoffs, and some guys like Domantas Sabonis don't play better in the playoffs, and it makes these regular season awards look so much worse. And I can understand why the NBA is just drip feeding their little podcast community all this information, so we've got content, but man, I wish these just dropped immediately. Devin Booker wasn't an all-star this season.
No, because the games played. Again, Devin Booker played 53 and KD played 47. I feel like 47, you're absolutely no shout. But for what it's worth, KD put up 29, 7 and 5 on 56, 40, 92 shooting splits.
Wasn't he the first guy to have 55, 40, 90?
The first guy to have 55, 40, 90. Booker put up 28, 4.5, 5.5, and shot 50, where are we? 50, 35, 85 on a team that won 70% of his games when he was actually on the court. So he played 53 games. All right. Fair enough. That's in the territory where you really have to talk about it. But the guys who he's kind of in with a shout over, realistically, is Dame Lillard, I think. Brown, who made second team.
Just say what we've got written there. Dame Lillard, 10.5% chance at the number 1 overall pick.
Is Dame's season,
being shut down worse than getting injured?
Yeah, exactly right. Is being the 13th seed but having a great season, better than being the 4 seed but missing 30 games and being awesome when you were on?
Such a good question.
It's probably not. Darren Fox, on an individual level, you can look at and say, broadly competitive, but Darren Fox played almost all of Sacramento's games and whatever. Yeah. But I'd be looking at Brown and Lillard and saying both of those guys in there over Booker, who was the best player on a 4 seed. I don't know.
It's bad, yeah.
Booker is just the best two guard in the league.
Yeah.
And he is still criminally underrated on the defensive end because over the last 2 or 3 seasons, his work has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing not to see him recognised with just a third team slot.
Yeah.
But I guess if he had played 57 or 59, maybe that looks different. He has had trouble staying on the court. He's got the dodgy hammies that keep flaring up all the time. So
yeah, it's a bit of a bummer. Another snub, but we all know why it happened. Jokic making the second team as opposed to the first team because this is the last year that we have the positional rules. That's like, all right, Embiid won MVP. Everyone was voting for him for MVP. These exact same voters voted Jokic second.
And that's what's happened to him. That's what happened to Embiid the last 2 seasons.
It's
Embiid
time.
will have two second team All NBAs on his resume because he finished second in MVP voting.
Yeah, which is just bugger.
Which is fine, as long as the correct historical record is preserved when those things are being discussed.
Yeah.
As long as you don't look at it and say, oh, Embiid, he only had he had those 2 seasons where he wasn't first team, he was second team. As long as you say he was only second team because the guy ahead of him at the 5 was the MVP and he finished second in it.
And as long as you're not like, oh, well, DeAndre Jordan made the first team once, so maybe he was better than Embiid
Isn't
that
it
year?
Actually insane how much better than DeAndre Jordan these players are that now we're talking about
Sabonis being the third team is miles better than DeAndre Jordan as the first team. And who the fuck was the second and third team centers in those years? Was that 15, 16? I'm going to guess Marc Gasol and Joakim Noah. 15, 16 Premier League table came up. Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a look.
So I've said Marc Gasol and Joakim Noah.
So the first team that year was
LeBron, Kawhi, Steph.
LeBron, Kawhi, Steph, Westbrook, and DeAndre Jordan. Second team center was DeMarcus Cousins.
Wow, for the Kings.
And the third team center was Andre Drummond.
Holy
Drummond. LaMarcus Aldridge was the forward.
No wonder we fucking started a dynasty, man.
Andre Drummond was all NBA.
And he got 13 first team votes.
As the best center. This cunt literally couldn't get off the bench for the Chicago Bulls when they were peak fucking 39 and 43. And he was all NBA first team. 2-time All-Star. 2015-16 All-NBA. 4 times
nickname,
rebound
the
champ.
Big Penguin.
The Big Penguin. Oh my god. We've come a long way where those were 2 of the 3. I mean, Boogie Cousins was awesome. The Kings was shit, but Boogie Cousins at his peak was awesome. But 2 of the 3 would peak Andre Drummond start for a playoff team this season?
He would be Kevon Looney. He would come off the bench if needed.
Would peak Andre Drummond be able to play 27 minutes a game in the playoffs? No.
Well, Jared Vanderbilt's got down to 10.
Yeah. I mean, peak Andre Drummond's probably better than Jared Vanderbilt right now.
I reckon it's a discussion.
But we've come a long way from... is Andre Drummond better than Steven Adams? Probably would rather have Steven Adams, right? Steven Adams from the last 3 years versus Andre Drummond from the mid-2010s. I'd probably be taking Steven Adams because Andre Drummond was a bad defender even back then.
Yeah, and even though he had those massive rebounding numbers, when he was on the court, the team was worse at rebounding than the other team.
And Steven Adams is the complete opposite. Steven Adams is a career 8 rebounds per game, and you're why are you only averaging 8? But every single season, the team rebounds better when he's on the court.
Well, you know why he's only averaging 8.
Well, of course, because he played with Russell Westbrook for so long.
It's just ingrained now. All right, so that happened. I will just note that the Sabonis, his possible extension, which I wrote about for the Deep 2, is unchanged this year. The extension stays as it is because it's still 140% of his previous salary. But if he decides...
140% brings him to ballpark 30 million a year?
Yeah. And
Great article, by the way. You can find it at thedeep2.com.
Thanks, man. And he can only add 4 years that way. If he doesn't sign an extension this off-season and takes it into the final year of his contract and then enters free agency, if he makes All-NBA again, then he'll be eligible for some fucking Jaylen Brown numbers.
The problem with that is he has kind of had like the exposure of being in the playoffs, and people next season are going to be like, oh,
remember you have 12 points in Game 7?
Like, remember how you were like a pretty like bang average defender in the regular season, and then you were a bang average defender in the playoffs, but then your offense also got 75% worse? Well, maybe we won't be rushing to put you back there unless you really fucking prove it.
Well, let's do a little bit of role play. Let's say you're Sabonis' agent, and keep in mind the agent's taking like 5, 7, 10% of his salary, right? So your fucking money. Who's his agent?
Let's have a look.
Your money.
I'm Greg Lawrence.
You're Greg Lawrence, right? And what you're taking, agents. What you're taking home goes from maybe a couple of million to maybe $10 million, right? Would you say, go on, I reckon you can do it again, and then just spend half your salary on PR just to say, like, look how great he is, we're the fifth seed, the Kings are doing it again, we've broken the streak again. Would you take that risk as his agent?
No, if I was his agent, I'd be taking the millions of dollars on the table to me, and I'd be putting them in high interest bank accounts and low risk investments and diversifying my portfolio, and then sitting back and enjoying a future where I would never have to work after the age of 50. But that's because I'm from Melbourne, and I've had a middle class upbringing, and the idea of having access to millions of dollars is quite strange to me. If I was someone based in the United States of America dealing with ritzy basketball players, and I had the chance to settle for 10% of 140 million, or 180 million, what 150 million, 30 over 5, 15 million over the life of that deal, or I can look at 280 million over the life of the same deal and get 28 million. If I was used to the glitz and the glam, maybe I would say, DeMontis, you got to go for it. But this is where it's important for the player to know their own mind. Because you hate to see when players are just guided by their agents to do things that don't always work out for any of them. And you would hope that as a 28-year-old, when his contract is being able to be negotiated, and being the son of a former NBA player, that he has an ability to navigate the system with less naivete, maybe, than like a Nerlens Noel type operator. So I took the role play seriously. That's what I would say.
Yeah, cool.
The last little nugget that I want to hit on from the All-NBA is SGA being named first team.
Well, I want to hear your thoughts on the grammar of his Instagram post.
Jeez, are we going on SGA Instagram right now?
We are.
The grammar of his Instagram post. Alright, well, bear with us as my web browser loads.
Just that most recent one.
It's not going to let me view it.
Oh, no.
Where's your phone? Pull that up. Yeah, bloody
Jamie.
Bloody Instagram. Jeez, look at that photo with him with like the nice fiddle-leaf fig. Okay. They used to make jokes and say the team I'm on's the worst. Now I wake up and the team I'm on is first. Yeah, well, obviously he's spelled ons.
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 I've never seen it like that. Yeah, but good on him, I say.
Just to answer your question, we should either be separating that out into on is, two separate words, or very bare minimum, probably still not stylistically wanted, desirable, but we'd be going O-N apostrophe.
We would.
And
let's start using that.
It's like, yeah, well, you're talking about two different teams here. This team that you're on is still,
I know,
still 11th or whatever, or what you're 10th or whatever they end up being. Yeah. But I mean, he did average what number?
31.
31.
Yeah.
That's pretty. We talked about it last week, but the list of guys who've averaged 30 plus in the last like 15 years is pretty short.
It's like the list includes like Allen Iverson. That's how far back you're going. Yeah, that's how far back you're going. Pretty cool. Like, I mean, I didn't really think about him for MVP when we were doing that award. I'll have to like maybe listen to it.
Well, you didn't think about him because his team was the 10 seed. But
also, like, his team's a 10 seed and he's on, let's call it the 5 best player, the lineup of the 5 best players.
Yeah.
He played a full season, 68 games. Yeah, I mean, I was much higher on him for most improved player. Obviously, there's a discussion there to have about what is the most improved player and so on. But
yeah,
I think it's well deserved. I'm still a bit shocked though. Steph Curry, less games.
I think it's well deserved. I think you could make a case for Mitchell over him. Actually, I would be
more
taking
regular season wins.
Yeah, regular season wins, and also like the best player on a 4 seed.
You could almost make a case for Ja Morant over him.
You definitely could. Of the others receiving votes, who do you think is the biggest snub here? Worth saying that by total points, the 3 biggest snubs are in order: Anthony Davis, Lauri Markkanen, who we haven't so far mentioned, and Ja Morant in terms of total points.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised Lauri Markkanen is that high. Ja Morant for me is definitely the biggest snub. If we're just going to ignore games played, Devin Booker, of course, and your point of winning 70% of his games while he's out there, most of these guys won 70% of the games while they're out there. Was Trae Young got 1 vote, which is like, I think it's a snub in the wrong direction.
But Trae Young also, I woke up to a fucking Bleacher Report notification this morning that was like Trae Young, like
the disrespect,
the same thing that I woke up to yesterday with Giannis and the DPOY.
Yeah,
Trae Young probably shouldn't have only got 1 total vote, which correlates to 1 third team vote.
Yeah,
but if you only get 1 vote, shut the fuck up. Actually, shut up about being disrespected. Shut up about anything. Your team was rubbish. You were rubbish for large stretches of the season. That's been kind of recognised here. That compared to the other players ahead of him, we're talking the players that are ahead of him is Morant, Drew Holiday, Jalen Brunson, who's absolutely worthy of being in this conversation. Booker, Harden, Halliburton also got 1 vote. The players ahead of you are like better this season.
Yeah,
Halliburton would have got way more than 1 vote if he had played. If Indiana hadn't shut him down. And every single other player on the list was playing on a better team than you and had a better performance than you this season.
Tyrese Halliburton got 2 votes. He was voted as a forward.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Yeah, but Mikal Bridges getting 2 votes as well. That's nice. Someone listen to your pod.
Yeah, seriously, I would fucking. That's a
generous 2, but
yeah, it is a generous 2, but that's the one I want to chuck in the simulator and see like if Mikal Bridges played 40 games instead of 20 games for the Nets. Like, what does his numbers look like?
So many things I want to chuck in the simulator known as 2K, but there's a bug, as there was a bug last year with the playoffs, where as soon as the playoffs start, you can't start today. The game just freezes. I can't wait.
How much you pay for it?
$80 day one. I can't wait to do it again in September. Kristaps Porzingis, 2 votes.
Yeah,
good on him.
He was alright this season.
He deserves it.
He was alright this season.
Who's your biggest snub? Mine's Ja Morant. Who's yours?
I think we're gonna go with Davis as the biggest snub because it's a bit rich, I think, for me to be putting in Sabonis and Randall over Davis.
Yeah,
on the 3rd team. I mean, Sabonis was really
it's just the 2 seed,
really good, but Davis as a 2-way player. His impact on the Lakers when he was healthy was I think greater than Sabonis' impact. And then Randall had a great season and was a deserving All-Star for the 2nd time in 3 years. But I think I would still be going with Davis.
And on that, let's wrap it up.
Let's bloody wrap it up. Coil it in. Tie it off.
I will speak to you next week. If you look for PointsBet's stock exchange listing, you'll find a bucket of jargon and doublespeak as they're considered a, quote, wagering services operator, unquote. That's a corporate stretch for the colloquial friendly Brogan or, hey, look, it's Chris Bosch kind of image they're sending off with their targeted advertising. I don't know about you, but take me back to the days when former pro sports players signed brand deals with hair loss clinics or Fujitsu aircons, not, quote, wagering service providers.
If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across the two of our faces morphed into one, would that make you listen to our podcast more? I mean, if it does, let us know and we'll start doing it. But when I see a few NBA players' faces morphed into one, it doesn't make me want to pull out my wallet and donate some money to my local wagering services provider.
The worst part is we're coming to accept it. Wagering service provider ads are so ingrained in our sports and the way sports is delivered to us, it's almost impossible to avoid. 3/4 of Australian children aged between 8 and 16 years who watch sport think that betting on sport is normal and can name one or more sport betting companies. When I was in school, I was struggling to remember Pokemon names, and I'd be furious if I knew that brainpower was being used to put towards wagering service providers and not them.
The wagering service providers know exactly who to target. It's not okay to let them ingrain themselves in young Australians' minds. It's not okay to target people in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not okay for gambling companies to wield so much influence in the world of sports. To help kick gambling out of sport, use your voice and sign the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/petition.